This is the this is the Professional Services Support for Workforce Development Programs RFP. This is specifically around scopes 1 and 2. The webinar for scopes 3, 4, and 5 happened earlier today and was recorded and also will be posted to the main RFP page. Sorry, next slide. This webinar itself will be recorded and posted to the Professional Service RFP page along with the slide deck. There is some time at the end for questions. However, if there is a question we don't get to, please feel free to reach out to us at rfpworkforce@masscec.com, and we will try to answer those questions. And some of these questions will also appear in frequently asked questions that may come up. Next slide. Just as a reference, this is the Professional Services Support for Workforce Development Programs RFP. There are 5 unique scopes that you will see. Just a reminder, scopes 1 and 2 are the ones that you are in right now. These scopes of work are for programming for the grantee technical assistance, curriculum development, and for English as a second language resources. The deadlines are slightly different. There is for scopes 2 and 3, these are due April 15th, and for scopes 1, 3, and 5, they have a due date of May 20th by 11:59 p.m. Next slide. So today we hope to go over some eligibility, give some background information, look at the 2 different scopes of work, look at the selection criteria, look at the application process, timeline, and the budget, hopefully point you towards some additional resources or additional funding opportunities as well, and go through the questions and answers throughout. So if you have questions, you can always post them in the chat, or and we will try to get to them as soon as possible. Also, the link has shown up in the chat as well. So MassCEC works, we now have span 4 areas of climate impact for Massachusetts: climate tech innovation, accelerating decarbonization, large-scale deployment such as offshore wind, and then this particular RFP is for clean energy and climate workforce development. And so this is about work around this workforce development piece. Next slide. Our team continues to grow. We have, at this point, kind of 3 areas that we look at: the strategy, internal engagement, and research area, of which our colleague Elizabeth is here. If Elizabeth would introduce herself.
Sure thing. Elizabeth Youngblood, Senior Program Manager on the SEER team.
Also, Megan is here from our SEER team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan. I'm a research fellow on the SEER team.
I believe I may have seen Karina as well. So maybe that was... yeah.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Karina. I'm a program manager on the SEER team.
Okay. I myself am from the student and young adult team, and then I will pass it over to Maeve.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maeve, and I'm a program administrator on the Adults Training and MWBE support team. Pass it over to Jenna.
Thanks, Maeve. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Jenna Wills. I'm a senior program manager on the Adult Training and MWBE team, and I think Amanda's here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Slattery. I am the Workforce Development, Environmental Justice, and Research Fellow on the Adult Training and MWBE support side, and I'll pass it back to Janelle.
Well, that is all the MassCEC folks that are in the room, and thank you all for putting your name, your organization, and possibly your title into the chat so you may get to know each other. I believe the next slide. So I'll start with eligibility. Who is eligible to apply? We have a large pool of lead applicants on this one. So individuals, organizations, or partnerships with a range of expertise and experience. I believe for this, you can apply to multiple strands. You may apply as a sole proprietor, consultant group, workforce development, community-based organizations, if you're for-profit entities, a post-secondary institution. The qualifications are you have to be based in Massachusetts or have staff that is here. And though not seen here is be in good standing with the Commonwealth as well, is usually something we look for. At this point, I will turn it over to Jenna to talk about Scope 1.
Yeah, thank you, Janelle. So as Janelle said, I'll be sharing more information about Scope 1, both strands A and B. Strand A, technical assistance for workforce grantees, and Strand B, planning and facilitation support for in-person convenings and events. We'll review background on both of these opportunities, the scope of work, and an anticipated timeline. Next slide, please. So some background on these opportunities. The Mass CEC Workforce Development Team aims to expand and diversify the workforce, foster heightened career awareness, and increase the availability and effectiveness of training and advancement opportunities. Mass CEC is focused on building capacity for partners to develop and deliver high-quality workforce training and business development across climate-critical occupations for Massachusetts residents. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? Mass CEC develops and manages workforce programs that increase access to clean energy careers, education, and training. Through our Clean Energy Internship Program, we've placed over 5,800 interns at over 600 clean energy companies. Our Equity Workforce Development Programming ensures that clean energy careers are accessible to all, by supporting expanded career awareness, training, and support services for individuals, both that are new entrants to clean energy and incumbent workers. And we do support climate critical businesses with a focus on minority and women business enterprises. Next slide, please. So here on this slide, you will find a direct link via a QR code to our Mass CEC funding page, linking you to all of our open funding opportunities. But as mentioned, the purpose of these programs is to build a strong pipeline within the clean energy industry, prioritizing equity and access. So in the bottom ribbon, you can see specific funding opportunities, open RFPs from the workforce team, including students and young adult, new entrants and incumbent workers, and climate critical small business support opportunities. Next slide, please. So diving into the scopes, first we're going to review Scope 1, and just an overarching theme for Scope 1 is that applicants should be able to provide quality technical assistance, or TA, via communities of practice with a clear focus on designing for and measuring results that bolster outcomes in our long-term impact. Next slide, please. So here you see both what we're requiring for Scope 1 and the Strand A and Strand B information. So Strand A, we are looking for consultants to provide direct TA for recipients of Mass CEC's Equity Workforce Grants, design virtual and in-person group TA offerings and support of the broader programs, and help us with development and improvement efforts. For Strand B, consultants will provide planning and facilitation support for the annual Mass CEC in-person grantee communities of practice, and the annual regional workforce conferences, as well as any other in-person events as requested. So one thing to note is that applicants may elect to apply to one or both strands. However, those with expertise in one are encouraged to seek out partners to apply for both strands of work. Mass CEC recommends applicants seeking to partner consider reviewing the Mass CEC networking partnership list that's on our website, and maybe someone can drop that in the chat as well. And please refer to the RFP for more details regarding the specific strands. Next slide, please. So diving further into Strand A, technical assistance for equity workforce grantees, we plan to contract with 2 to 4 applicants to offer technical assistance and services. And you'll see here key responsibilities, and these are also further outlined in the RFP, but I'll review them as well. So providing high quality TA to a caseload of 6 to 12 grantees funded from a range of programs within the adult training and MWBE support and student and young adult teams. Reviewing all relevant materials from the procurement and contracting process, developing a clear focus for TA along with associated benchmarks and goals based on feedback from the grant review committee, delivering that TA, addressing focus areas and goals through a mix of grantee support, in-person convenings, small group virtual meetings, and individual virtual meetings. Collaborating on the design and co-facilitation of up to 2 annual in-person events. Development of the custom tools and best practices relevant to grantee goals. And reviewing and providing feedback to grantees on major grant deliverables, such as plan outlines and final implementation plans for planning grantees and program outcome tracking for our implementation grantees. Next slide, please. So here we'll have an outline of Scope 1 strand. Sorry, I think we might have skipped a slide. Can you go back one? Yes, okay. So preference will be given to applicants with the following background. So workforce development experience with a demonstrated history of effectively supporting programming devoted to serving participants consistent with our program model. Experience providing guidance, mentorship, and support on workforce-related program development. A demonstrated deep understanding of the state's workforce system and/or small business and broader economic development systems with a clear awareness of regional strengths and challenges. The knowledge and understanding relevant to clean energy workforce development and the ability to clearly articulate these linkages to specific climate critical occupations and fields. And the ability to provide technical assistance on a range of relevant topics like program design, recruitment, retention, all strategies to targeted populations, effective partnership development, and clean energy industry training considerations. Next slide, please. So diving further into strand B, which is planning and facilitation support for in-person convening events. We plan to contract with one applicant to offer planning and facilitation services, including the facilitation of a virtual work group in preparation for the annual in-person grantee community of practice convening, typically occurring in the fall, and the annual regional workforce conference typically occurring in the spring. The ability to review and provide feedback on session proposals for these events, including which ones should be included, if they need to be modified and/or not included. And providing support for Mass CEC staff in the production of the high-level and detailed summit agenda, run of show documents, tracking summit materials, coordination with staff, being present on the day to ensure a successful execution of the event. Next slide, please. So here you can see an expected timeline for Scope 1. There's a rolling application deadline until May 20th, 2025, followed by application review, contracting, and the beginning of TA support services. Just please note that specific contract terms and timeframe are agreed upon in the contracting phase. Next slide, please. And here we can take a quick pause for questions. There will be, I think, additional time, or we can always answer and field questions to our RFP workforce inbox as well. So I'll pause here. If anyone has questions, feel free to unmute. Okay. We'll see no questions. I think I pass it back over to Janelle.
Hello, I'm going to talk about Scope 2, which is the training providers for support of internship program success, or just to make it easier, we call it the SIPS initiative. Next slide. So the Clean Energy Internship Program is a long-standing program at Mass CEC. It's run now for 14 years. It's statewide. It serves students all across the Commonwealth. It employs students across different majors and interests. In our summer, we have about 316 interns total. Employers are in charge of their own recruitment and matching. We found that for some students, some of this is overwhelming. And so the SIPS initiative was born as a way of helping to meet some of the needs we had seen in some of our students. The program itself supports 12 weeks of employment. Students can be hired up to $18, and some students are hired either part-time or long-term after their internship. Next slide. So that last piece about how interns can be hired very much is part of why the SIPS program was born. The idea being that if you can provide students with enough career readiness skills and the ability to network and provide some case management wraparound services around their career pathways, they would actually be hired as full-time students when they were in a position to be looking for full-time employment. This program began in 2021. It was renamed as a SIP program in 2024. The students who could be reached was expanded to include first-generation students and Peel grantees last year. That is the additional 60 students on the summer, and there should be some case management, ideally some mentorship if possible. Students are placed in a cohort, so the students are, right now they're on a schedule in which every Friday they have a workshop around some asset or skill they would need to be successful at their current placement and after that placement. Training provider is responsible for the additional services for successful career navigation, including making those workshops. And at the end of the summer, there's usually a summit for students to share some of their experiences. Next slide. So scope 2, we are seeking a training provider to recruit, support, and track eligible students. If it is a 1-year contract, it is for $20,000. If this is a 2-year contract, it would be for $40,000. The eligible students are Peel Grant recipients, first-generation students, residents of Massachusetts environmental justice neighborhoods and disadvantaged communities. The responsibilities here include recruiting and matching eligible students with host employers, mentoring and supporting students through the initiative. Recruiting employers is also one of the things that happens here sometimes as a way of matching students. It's not outlined exactly on this list, but I wanted to point it out. Designing and leading 3 virtual career readiness workshops, co-develop and developing an employer best practice webinar, doing some weekly student workshops, tracking participant progress for a year, and being able to articulate what is being used to track those participants. We ask for case studies and photos for at least 2 participants. And we also ask for interim and final reports on the program outcomes. So that is scope 2. And so I just pause to ask, are there any questions around the SIPS initiative? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to move on into some larger, how are we assessing these scopes of work? Okay. There is a question, I believe, for Jenna in the chat.
Thanks, Janelle. I can take a look and respond to Rebecca.
Okay. So I'm gonna move on and Jenna will respond in the chat. So selection criteria. So we are looking for alignment of background and summary of qualifications. We're asking that the person who applies for these scopes of work have experience working with these populations and with to whom they're going to provide technical assistance for scope 1 and the individuals who they wish to serve for scope 2. For scope 1, we're going to be looking for equity focused development and for quality of work plan approach to proposed scope of work. We are looking for proposed scope of works that meet the technical assistance program development goals. 3 and 5 are not present here, but for scopes 3 and 5, they too have some quality of work points that people have to meet. We're looking for flexible and clear contingency options to maximize opportunities and deliverable quality, as sometimes the projects will shift and change, or as different grantees may have different needs that come up. Next slide. We ask that people look at their budgets and make sure that the budget aligns with the value, just thoughtful thinking around what that looks like and how that is. And then also that there are references for the scope of work, just so we can get feedback around the work that might be submitted. Next slide. So the application process, as always, starts by reviewing and looking at the things that are available on the RFP website. Just making sure the opportunities, requirements, and objectives are things that can be met. Attending this webinar, which you are all doing, and if you are not, if you're passing this on to others, making sure they look at the recording and other resources we may have. Also, if there are questions that come up that we did not answer now because of time or because at the time it wasn't you hadn't gotten there yet, please make sure you reach out to rfpworkforce@masscc.com. And then last but not least, just making sure that you have submitted a complete RFP to rfpworkshop@masscc.com, and the subject line is 2025 professional service support for workforce development. For scopes 2 and 4, that is due by 11:59 on April 15th. For scopes 1, 3, and 5, those are to be submitted by 11:59 on May 20th. Next slide. This application packet is a little shorter than most. You have the acceptance form, which is just saying you are who you are and you've agreed to this, and then the application form, which is attachment 2. There are instructions for how to fill out all of the RFPs. You want to submit them as separate documents. And there is an attachment 3 that is the sample service agreement. We ask that people review this. This is basically the language we use in the contracts we make. And so if there are any changes, there is a section for applicants to be able to submit those changes or ask for those changes before we start further down the line. Unless requested, additional attachments will not be considered during review and scoring. Okay, so budget. For scopes 1, strand A and B is determined upon agreed upon scope of work. So the scope of work, the term is this. For strand B, scopes versus strands. For scope 2, it is $20,000 for a year of service and $40,000 for 2 years of service. Just looking at our own timeline, we will continue to take questions moving forward. We will try to respond to those questions and submit and post the answers to them on the RFP website every 2 weeks. The webinars both happen today. You are currently in the last one being conducted from 3 to 3:45 for scopes 1 and 2. Sorry. Proposals themselves are due May 2025 at 11:59 for scopes 1, 3, and 5. And again, for scopes 2 and 4, the deadline for that is April 15th. Interviews will be conducted as needed, and the notification of award will be rolling through July. Are there any additional questions? Okay. Our funding landscape, we have a lot of funding available for adult training programs, student and young adult programs. We are conducting a summit May 8th at Essex, the Northeast. Oh, I'm gonna say this wrong. The Northeast Summit, and there's one more that's on our funding slides. Oh, the technical trades work and learning. If you are looking to hire an intern to help with clean energy work, either for the internship program or a student who is currently in high school, those are great sources of funding to use for the clean energy space. Besides that, I believe we are done with the slides. If you want to take that down to see if we have any last minute questions. Other than that, thank you all for attending.
There is a question in the chat, I think, Janelle, before we log off.
Sorry, there've been a few questions. I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's if for-profit companies are eligible to be considered for Scope 1 Strand A.
I believe the answer to that is yes, as long as they meet the experience qualifications and they're Massachusetts based.
Yep. Thanks, Janelle. Yep, that's what I would say.
Any other questions for us around scopes 1 and 2? If not, thank you all, and we will speak to you. Hopefully, we'll be looking at your application soon, actually.
Thanks for